Hello, welcome to the Panorama Project session, Advancing, Measuring, and Communicating the Marketing Contribution of Public Libraries to Publishers and Authors. My name is Dan Albone. I lead the Panorama Project, and we're very pleased to participate in ALA's Midwinter Gathering. Panorama is a cross-industry initiative in that we have engaged and we continue to engage all who have a stake in the publishing sector, including librarians, but also book publishers, booksellers, authors, and agents. Our stated mission is to deliver data-informed insights, facts, metrics, figures, research that demonstrate the impact of public libraries on book discovery, author brand development, and also ultimately sales. Please visit our booth here at ALA Midwinter. We do have a spot in the exhibit hall. Or I also encourage you to visit us on the web at panoramaproject.org, where there's a wealth of information. With over 16,000 locations across the United States, our more than 9,000 public libraries produce, market, and host thousands of readings, literary festivals, book clubs, and other experiential events, in person and now virtual, that directly connect local patrons to books and authors, new and old, frontlist, backlist, midlist, local, regional, and national. The significance of these efforts and the actual dollar value are considerable and often overlooked or understated. During our conversation today, we're pleased to feature three of your peers who have been deeply involved in readers' advisory, production and promotion of events, and measuring and reporting the monetary value of these events and associated activities. Over the next 25 minutes or so, we'll introduce an easy-to-use calculator that generates dollar value from owned and earned media. We'll share one case study using the calculator, and we'll also discuss how to effectively or more effectively report findings to the usual or obvious beneficiaries, authors and agents, as well as other stakeholders. We'll now go from east to west, and I'm delighted to ask Hallie Rich, Megan Swarek, and Lucy Lockley to introduce themselves and their libraries, their roles, and kind of their particular interest in this topic. Hallie.
Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here virtually with everyone. My name is Hallie Rich, and I'm the Communications and External Relations Director for Cuyahoga County Public Library. Cuyahoga County Public Library has 27 branches. We serve the Northeast Ohio area, the greater Cleveland region. And we're very proud to have been named a 5-star library by Library Journal for the 11th consecutive year, earning the highest point score, as a matter of fact, in our peer category. So we are really proud to be at the forefront of delivering what we believe is exceptional public library experiences. And as a huge part of that experience and part of my interest area is the kinds of author events that we provide to our community. In pre-pandemic times, those were physical, in-person kinds of experiences, but we've pivoted, obviously, like everyone else over the past 9 months, and have shifted to delivering those experiences virtually. And being able to make that connection between the reader and the writer and strengthening that relationship, that really is at the heart of what libraries are about, and with these kinds of events, really at the heart of the kind of value that we can deliver. So I'm excited to be a part of this conversation today.
Now to Schomburg.
Thank you. That is hard to follow. My name is Megan Swarek. I am the Director of Reference Services for the Schomburg Township District Library. We are a a standalone public library in the northwest suburbs of Chicago with 3 locations. We are the second largest public library in the state of Illinois. And I will echo what Hallie has said. You know, we are very proud of the services and experiences and community building activities that we been known for creating for our patrons, both, you know, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Particularly, you know, this last year has been a real learning experience for all of us to quickly, you know, evaluate how we can continue to bring our core services to the public and then create, you know, new opportunities, particularly as it relates to experiential programming. So, you know, book and author events serve our mission of, you know, connecting our patrons with each other as well as with the literature and the authors to, you know, foment, you know, valuable conversations and just provide, you know, an opportunity for, you know, people to enjoy, you know, conversations that they may not be able to have. So I'm very excited to have been a part of the Panorama Project from its inception, and I'm delighted to be a part of this panel today.
And now across the Mississippi over to St. Peter. Hi, Lucy.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. I'm Lucy Lockley. I'm the lead collection development librarian for St. Charles City County Library in Missouri. We're a suburban library system just across the Missouri River from St. Charles County. That's okay, Dan. We have 12 branches ranging from large regionals down to express libraries. We've been working, marketing and programming have worked really hard over the years to develop a very successful programming, you know, author programming system. And we're very proud of them. And the staff work really hard to support them and find other authors to bring in. What collection development does, we work in concert with Mike, and I have counterparts who also do this. We work with marketing and programming to ensure that the library has copies of all the titles that are going to be promoted by their authors when they come for their visit. And we also occasionally create flyers for the website to promote events, programs, and other initiatives that the library is doing. It's just been like Megan and Hallie said, it's been a very challenging year. And I think the staff here at St. Charles City County Library have really stepped up, and they've produced some really great programming this year. And we found new ways to do new things. So glad to be here and glad to be part of Panorama Project.
And thank you, everybody, for the great introductions. That really leads us right into an initial question I have relating to the planning of events and how they come about. Are the plans annual? Is there a framework at your library? Are they quarterly? Perhaps who do you work with in the greater library? And certainly external, author, publisher, other that have influence. So again, we'll start in Ohio, and I'll ask Hallie to touch on this, please.
Yeah. Well, in terms of planning, we are typically 6 to 9 months out in terms of identifying specifically author events and getting them on the books, getting them scheduled, and then building out a comprehensive marketing plan for each one. Our learning and literacy division leads on that front, and that is our sort of author publisher relationship guru, Bill Kelly, and he works with all of the various different publishers, puts together proposals, and most of the time we are looking to find authors who are going to be out on book tour and secure dates. And so, you know, being able to make the case for sending an author to the greater Cleveland area, we need to be able to demonstrate that when that author comes here, we're going to be able to draw a significant crowd, to help, very candidly, to help pump up book sales, but also to give that author that connection, like I talked about originally, giving them that connection to their readers. And so we do a lot of work being able to prove out it will be worth their while for a publisher to send an author on a supported book tour to our library system. And a big piece of that is the marketing plan that we will then put together. When we know that we have somebody coming, we look at all of the different avenues that we have to help promote the event itself. And then we'll do specific targeting. If we know that we have a thriller author that's coming, we're going to do targeted emails to folks that we know are interested in those kinds of books. Last year, pre-pandemic times, we've had various authors that maybe have a connection to food. So we've created segmented lists within our email system so that we know, okay, these are some of our customers who are interested in food-related programming. And then we can target our marketing to fit with the audience that we most want to reach. And, all of that takes time to the best of our ability. We try to plan, like I said, 6 to 9 months out. But then, of course, we recognize when somebody picks up the phone and says, hey, we can get, I'm thinking of it last year, I believe it was Louise Penny, was like maybe a 6-week lead time. And we said, yeah, we'll make that happen. So, we flex as we need to. And I think, probably most organizations do the same.
Hey, Megan.
Yes. So very similar. Typically, we do operate on a 6 to 9 month schedule. It kind of depends. The annual large scale community read events. We're beginning the planning for the next year's event almost as soon as the previous year event is closed. But ordinarily, it is 6 to 9 months, although we do have smaller scale events that happen on a more regular frequency. So, that planning is ongoing. But as Hallie mentioned, we do try to plan for being flexible if you can. We try to be as proactive as we can be about building up the specific marketing plan for each event to make it as successful as possible, but also retain some cushion to be able to snap up an opportunity to present an experience that may come up at the last minute. And I've got an example of that we'll talk about later, where it was really you want to marshal all of your skills, take advantage of all of the library's tools to promote and market each event as thoroughly as possible and with as much specificity as you're able to, but also sometimes things pop up and you want to be able to snap on it. And so it's a fine balance. At my library, we have a central programming advisory committee that meets, and then we very often break into subcommittees to plan specific events, particularly the large scale events. And then we work with our marketing department to plan out the specific strategy for each individual event. But I imagine, as Hallie mentioned, it's probably very similar library to library what those specific marketing steps are.
Thanks, Lucy. I'm sure St. Charles has some similar mechanics as your two brethren libraries.
Yes, they do. From collection development, we're kept up with what's going on we attend their regular, I think they're monthly meetings for programming with marketing. And the document that they share, I believe, does go 6 to 9 months out. It's a big, huge spreadsheet that lists each program and what part, the development stage that it's at and what things they're planning to do and everything. And that's how part of the way that they keep us informed with what's going on. Also, they'll send us emails about things, especially if something pops up that wasn't on the spreadsheet before, they'll let us know. And also if it's going to be one that's happening, within the next couple of weeks, and we need to jump on it and make sure we've got material that does happen. I'm sure it happens at the other libraries too. So we have to jump in and make sure that we've got material for the collection. We also assist, it's sort of a side thing, but it's an author event in a way. We help do the collection development for the annual book discussion groups. We have multiple book discussion groups across the district, and they do an annual order for the titles because we supply the titles to the customers. We make kits of like 10, and we put that together for them. They give us the titles, and we go make sure that we can order them and get the order in time. As a matter of fact, we did that about a month and a half ago, so that they've got the titles that they need for this coming year. So we're sort of the, supplier in a way.
Well, I wanted to get into this to set the stage for the valuation discussion, because all of what your libraries do, and this is not news perhaps to some of your peers across the country, but it's just a reiteration or it's a reminder of the aggregate efforts across the country with this kind of planning that sets the stage for the individual events. And with that, really, it brings out two other points. I thought we touched on the database, the effective use of library patron information, respecting privacy. So I only emphasize this because that clearly through email and through circulation patterns where people have opted in, I think the effective use of information respecting privacy is a really important possibility that perhaps libraries can leverage more. The other thing was just the mention of our changes in our society and the importance of leveraging virtual over the traditional bricks and mortar physical activities. And we'll touch on that a bit more in a few minutes, but I'd like to go and ask Hallie, I wanted to do an overview of the marketing mix, but given our limited time today, we can have a whole workshop on that someday. Would you share a little bit about the calculator that you've developed, which has all the elements of the marketing mix, so we can kind of touch on the terminology and perhaps a quick example of evaluation?
Yeah, absolutely. So, about a year ago when libraries everywhere were really grappling with the embargo from Macmillan, we were looking to begin to find new ways of quantifying the value that libraries provide to authors and to publishers. And as part of that conversation, we started talking about all of the things that, Megan and Lucy and I have mentioned that libraries do. And to your point, Dan, more than 16,000 public library spaces across the United States. I know ALA at one point said that there were more, I don't know if this is still true, but it was like there were more libraries than there are McDonald's in the entire country. So nourishing our minds rather than the McDonald's nourishing the body. So if that is still true, these are locations where, as you can hear from each of us talking about the kind of planning and thought and marketing that's going on around books and authors. So we started just to kind of do some like back of the napkin sort of quantifying of, all right, well, if I assigned a value to these different things that we do, what would it look like? And various iterations of this calculator have evolved over the past year. And so using the spreadsheet that Panorama Project has built in as part of the marketing valuation toolkit, I'm going to pull it up and I'll just share with you a few of the things. Let me share my screen.
While Hallie's doing this, I think you can hear me even when she successfully pulls up the spreadsheet. Last fall, the Panorama Project, with the involvement of Lucy, Megan, and Hallie, as well as several other members from across the country, put together the Library Marketing Valuation Toolkit. And that is really the basis for our wanting to share what they did and get this in your hands. And it's now up. I'll just say that calculator is available for download at the Panorama website. And we do want more people to begin test driving it and sharing some numbers with us. Hallie.
Sure. So this is the spreadsheet. You can download it from the Panorama Project website. And I just started plugging in some numbers for an event that we held a little over a year ago, just to demonstrate how this tool works. And again, to start to quantify what is the value of these various different activities that libraries across the country are all doing. And this I felt was a fair example because, you know, we do a number of different things at any given time for different author events. And in this instance, we were doing an event for the queen of the beach read, Mary Kay Andrews. She came in May of 2019, and she was out on book tour. So this was a publisher-supported book tour. We had her, it was within 2 weeks of the pub date of her latest novel. And what you can see here, if you look at this spreadsheet and just sort of follow along, the total value of some of the very basic activities that we did was more than $7,000. And that's one library stop on this tour. And so let me just walk you through some of the things that we did to support this event from a marketing standpoint and what kind of value that can be assigned from it. So really basic, libraries everywhere do this. When you're going to host an event, you put information about it up on your website. And at CCPL, we're no different. We post our big author events on our main library website, which gets a ton of traffic. And then we also have a secondary site where we post and promote all of our specifically author events. So for the period that the information was posted on our website, about a month, about 30 days, we tracked number of page views, more than 245,000 impressions. We were able to grab that information just by going into our Google Analytics. And again, this is something any library likely has somebody that's tracking stats on your website usage. So we were able to identify the number of impressions or page views during that time frame. And you'll see here this next column has the market CPM. What is really great about the Panorama Project calculator is that these values, so CPM is cost per 1,000 impression, these values are pre-populated for you. So right in here, you'll see that a view on a library website is valued somewhere around $15 per CPM. So that's cost per 1,000 impressions. So when the math gets all done, and that is something that the calculator, the spreadsheet, it's built in, you plug in your number of page views, it multiplies by the market CPM, and what comes out is the market value of having that promotion on your website. And for my library system at around 15 CPM, that was $3,675 worth of promotional content. So those were eyeballs seeing Mary Kay Andrews and her latest book and highlighting this event that was going to happen. Following down, you'll see, and I don't have data for every single one of these various channels where we can market an author or a book as part of our promotion. And I think that's fair because for any given event, you're not necessarily going to leverage every single marketing vehicle that's at your disposal. But here, email, again, most library systems have a robust email marketing platform that they use to connect and communicate with their customers. For this particular event, and we have a really huge email list. So your email list may be much smaller. Ours is pretty big because we serve a pretty large population. We had 76,000 and change email opens. So that was, we sent out emails promoting a number of events the library had coming up. The Mary Kay Andrews event was one of those that was highlighted in that newsletter. And we had, more than 76,000 opens. The market CPM, which is pre-populated in here at about $25, because this is information that's going to a very qualified audience. And when they open it, there's value there. That translates into about $1,923 worth of marketing value. So again, if the author or the publisher were paying directly for this, they might invest close to $2,000 to get that kind of reach to their targeted audience. And think about this. This is in one single market. For this particular author, Mary Kay Andrews, I don't know how many stops were on her tour that last year, but if this was happening in every single library community that she was visiting and every single bookstore that she was visiting, there's significant value to that. And so as you go down, these are digital channels. The next section is physical channels. So what are we doing in our library spaces to promote author events and visits? Well, you can talk about in-branch signage. So if you put up posters and billboards and that kind of thing, you have digital screens, you are reaching eyeballs. This is kind of what it's all about at a very base level. In our branch, a way that you can calculate that is for the period that you have the signage up, how many visits to that particular branch. And across my 27 branches, for the roughly 30 days or so that we would have had the posters up in our buildings, we had 437,000 visits. And I tweaked the value there. I think the default value was around $10 for cost per 1,000 impressions. I tweaked it just knowing what I know about my local market and the investment that we would make for. I basically translated it to what you'd pay for outdoor billboard signage. I think it's a fair valuation is closer to $5. So I just changed the number in the spreadsheet. Again, anyone can do this. And what it spits out was more than $2,100 worth of value for all of those visits to the libraries, all of those people that were seeing information about the particular author and her new book. There's value to that. Now, earned media is the next segment. You'll see here, I don't have anything in this column because we didn't get, as I recall, going back and looking at the data, I don't think we got any earned media, meaning a local news outlet didn't pick it up and talk about it or write about it online or in the print newspaper. But if one of those outlets were to do that, you would just insert the different data points. So if our local daily newspaper had picked it up and included it in an event listing, you would insert the circulation info, which you can get from your local daily newspaper or whatever publication it is, plug that in, and it would spit out a valuation for what that represents. We didn't have any earned media in this instance. We also didn't do any paid media. So what that means is advertising, that where the library is incurring a cost. Sometimes we will do some paid advertising, whether that is digital ads that we might do a run of digital ads on Facebook. And we might say we'll spend $100 on digital ads to run, and it'll reach our target audience. We can be very focused and targeted when we do that. And so you would look at the number of impressions and there's a value there. Or you might run, ads about the event on your local TV station. If you're making that kind of investment, you would plug that in there. And those dollars would then contribute to the overall valuation. In this instance, we didn't do any paid media. So there isn't anything to track in there. This next section in the calculator invites the libraries to track their investment in actual their physical and digital holdings. So how many copies of an author's book do you have in your collection? I didn't have that data at hand, but you don't have to have exact counts on all of these numbers to be able to start to estimate the kind of value of marketing that libraries invest for a particular author. So if you have that information and can get it, Lucy, I suspect you would have this information at your fingertips that you'd be able to plug in. You work with your folks in collection development and you can add those kinds of numbers in. Being cognizant of time, I'm gonna kind of blast through right here. The last point. For this event, it was in May of 2019. We had 224 individuals who registered for the event. Actual attendees ended up being 130 participants. What I added in here, because it wasn't part of the calculator, but I felt it was relevant information that should be tracked somewhere. As part of this particular event, there were 36 books that were sold, and we work with a local bookseller to do sales at most of our author events. 36 copies were sold. The book was published, pub date was May 7th. Our event was, I believe, May 20th, so within the first 2 weeks. And there's value there because book sales in those early days all go to tracking around getting on the New York Times bestseller list. And when that happens, we know that there is huge marketing value for an author. So hosting these kinds of events, being able to deliver a nice sized crowd. For Mary Kate Andrews, this was her second visit within a 1 or 2 year time period. So this was really an opportunity for her to engage deeply with her audience. And I will just say, I am never the best judge of what's going to be like a not hit, a hit in terms of event and attendance. I lean on our collection development team and Bill Kelly and our team over in learning and literacy that helped to select the authors. But, to get 130 people to come out for an author event for, a second visit in a 1 or 2 year period of time was a really big success. And it's a great way for that author to connect with her readers. So there's value there. And so that's just walking you through the calculator and plugging in some numbers. And again, I'll go back to the top. For that one single event in little Cuyahoga County, Ohio, close to $8,000 in marketing value that we invested through our outreach to our target audience. And that's just one example.
Hallie, thanks. I'm going to, in our last 5 or 6 minutes here, go over to Megan. Megan, you had a really big event, and then we'll have Lucy make a couple closing comments, and then I'll close shop officially. Megan, you had a large event which involved multiple libraries, and while all can't have a value like that, why don't you share a moment or two about the virtual benefits and what you did with the big time author?
Sure. So one of the, takeaways I think that we've all been engaged with during this year is looking for success stories that were brought about specifically by these, challenging circumstances. And so we had an opportunity that came up very quickly, with not a lot of advance notice, to partner with 10 public libraries in kind of the Northwest suburbs and beyond the suburban Chicago area to collaborate to bring Dr. Ibram X. Kendi to visit virtually. So because of the virtual space and the ability to kind of reach out to the local community, the libraries were able to, purchase an enterprise, a special Zoom license that allowed us to cap the registration at 6,000 registrants, and it maxed out. And I was thinking about the valuation calculator and how I would really love to have all of that data because when we went back into the poll, we found that it was nearly 5,500 attendees, which is a pretty good turnaround. Typically, all libraries know, you typically do not get 100% of the people who signed up to show up. And so it was very impressive, and, kudos to the libraries that worked so hard to bring this. But, and going through my library, there were close to 600 people who identified as having heard about this through, through the Schomburg Library. And so, times however many other, libraries. And I was looking through the poll data, they heard about it from, and it looks like there were registrants who joined us from all over the country. And so, in thinking about being able to get the relevant data points to like quantify that, and then, kind of help that make the case to, reach out, be creative, see if you can find some partners, and then ask a big deal author if they would be, willing to join virtually. Like there's no possibility that we would have been able to present this in person at this time. And so it's something to keep in mind, and definitely when you are trying to demonstrate to the publishers, to the authors, the feedback was tremendous. People were very engaged. We were able to get a local public radio personality who was also an author, a published author, to interview, to conduct the interview and run the Q&A. And again, it just popped up, like the opportunity presented itself, and we thankfully were able to like jump on that bandwagon. So.
Well, that kind of thing, there's no question the author knows and the publisher should be taking notice. Now, maybe they take for granted their the New York Times bestsellers or the top ones where they're already putting some heavy marketing dollars behind. But that's just an example of the exponential effect of the work you've done. We only have a few minutes remaining, and I'd like to go over to Lucy. We're not going to be able to get into this in detail, but Lucy, we talked about it the other day when we were preparing for this, about the opportunity for public libraries to do a stronger effort to expose this kind of data. Do you have a couple thoughts on that?
Well, sort of a distaff way of doing this is keep your local community involved and in mind when you're doing this. But also, I mean, librarians are great at sharing, but I'm not sure we've been doing the best job of sharing this kind of data with the publishers. So the Panorama Project and the calculator and everything will be a great way to expand on that. But going back to the local community, I mean, I'm sure that Megan and Hallie and all the other libraries across the country, they work with their local independent bookstores, and have them do the sales, keep track of their sales. That can be reported. That can be a market value item to add to the calculator on there. And if your staff have suggestions for an author to come, keep that in mind. Don't, because we recently had a Jeff Eisner, who does the Instapot program, a blog out there. We had him, and that was due to a staff suggestion. And I also believe they were the ones that made the connection for us to get him to come. So keeping, local community and staff and everything in mind, and then using that to help add more information, data to the calculator is a great way to share this information.
Thanks, Lucy. 1 minute back to Illinois and then to Ohio, and then I'll close. Any final thought on reporting and communicating to publishers, authors, and other stakeholders? Hey, Megan.
I've been thinking, about how important and how useful this calculator is, and how, it's available for any library, for anyone to download and just take that to your meeting, so that the entire planning, process, you are making plans about how you're going to be capturing this data so that you will have it. And then once you have it, you can, turn it into, impactful stories that you can then take with you when you are demonstrating, telling your story outside of your own, library community. Like, it's great information to demonstrate to your trustees, to your community, but also to, start the conversation, maybe to build your relationship with, the publishers and the booksellers. Is like, here's a very, easy way for you to understand what we do in language that is your language. You know, you don't have to learn library jargon. We're gonna do the library thing and learn your language, and then, you know, speak to you. So I just think it's a tremendous opportunity and a real risk to public libraries.
Hallie.
You know, I think Lucy and Megan have both really summed it up. So I think the only thing that I might add is, you know, it's powerful when each one of us goes through the steps of filling out the calculator and you see the numbers and start to notice that value. But the real power is when you think of it in the aggregate and you think about all of the libraries that are investing all that effort and energy and really valuable activity in terms of supporting books and authors. Again, you know, very fundamentally, what we love to do is to connect the reader with the writer and help to build that relationship. And if there's anything I think that the pandemic is teaching us, it's that the importance and the value of relationship. So I would love to see the library community together doing this exercise, quantifying the value of our activity, and sharing that back to the relevant stakeholders.
Thank you, Hallie, Megan, Lucy. I really feel confident we're putting a stake in the ground here with this ALA midwinter event. This is a perennial topic, and there's no stopping now. And I hope that Panorama, along with you and along with the people who are viewing this and other key influencers in the industry, I'll call it the industry, take note and let's work together on building this story. I hope all of you found our discussion relevant and compelling. Our public libraries contribute mightily to the marketing and promotion of authors and specific books, and it's incumbent upon all of us to trumpet this success. On a personal note, I welcome your correspondence. I'm eager to engage, as are our contributors in their spare time, and we want to champion your success stories. Have a great rest of the conference. Thank you and good day.